5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
Put everything down and crank your speakers up.
It's time for
The Realest Podcast.
Oh yeah!
We got us a new world champion!
And what is going on, guys? You're listening to the Realest Podcast, and welcome to February 6, 2017, the Monday Night Raw review. I'm joined by Andrew Bast, and I didn't think that this show was that bad. People are, highly disagreeing with what's going on, Juan. I personally don't mind the ending with Roman Reigns. I'll tell you why. And before we get into it, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free, I promise. That you will not be charged. We'll be live tomorrow night with the SmackDown Live review, and then obviously the Sunday Elimination Chamber will be happening. We'll be giving our predictions, and of course, we'll give you the results of the show. And the reason why. But before we get into Samoa Joe and the main event, it is confirmed that Seth Rollins does have a torn MCL. So for people that don't know the difference between a torn MCL and an ACL, if he was to tear his ACL, let's just say he'd be gone for a long time, months. So with an MCL, he's looking at a 6 to 8 week time frame, which if he does go the full 8 weeks, he could wrestle at WrestleMania. The last day, assuming it is 8 weeks that he's out, would be the Thursday before. Now, this is when they broke the news that Wednesday or Thursday on Seth Rollins being hurt. And the question really up in the air now is Seth Rollins going to be wrestling Triple H? I'll be honest with you, Andrew, I don't know.
Yeah, it's up in the air, really. Like, the way I look at it, with the timeline that they're giving us, is 6 to 8 weeks. At best, they have him back right before WrestleMania. But that means that he has to be on TV long enough to kind of continue that feud. Like, I don't know, for me, it wouldn't be as special if he all of a sudden shows up the day of WrestleMania.
No, I think what they should be doing is just have Joe dominate all the baby faces that are against the authority. Have Triple H come out, cut a promo on Seth Rollins, and basically say, look what he's doing. He's doing this better than you. You could never do what he is doing right now. And then have Seth Rollins come out, and either cut a promo or have Seth Rollins, on the Jumbotron say something. Obviously, you don't want to get him in any physical contact with Triple H, or have Triple H do the heel way and just run away from a fight, So, there's things that they could do, but do they do it? It's a big risk. It's a torn MCL, and, once you tear those ligaments like he has, people are never the same.
No, not at all. It's a difficult thing. You look at what he did before, and then with the MCL, it's just going to be very challenging for him to be who he is. The guy's not going to move around nearly as much as he used to. After a while, it's gonna really hurt him.
Well, here's a question that's been kind of up in the air with people: is should Seth Rollins change his finisher? Reminder that his finisher is the pedigree, which puts not a lot of pressure, but it does use his knees a lot. And he puts a lot of pressure on his knees whenever he jumps to finish the pedigree.
I didn't realize that.
So, do you change it? And also, I just saw this. Always, I look at the Inquisitor to see what we got. Trish Stratus is rumored to battle Charlotte for the belt at WrestleMania 33. She just had a baby. I don't think that's going to happen. But back to Raw. But yeah, obviously he has to land on his knees to hit the pedigree. So what do you think?
I don't know, man. It's just with the way that this injury has been worked out, and with how Raw it's going to be if he does return in time, I honestly want to say err on the side of caution and go easy on him. I really wouldn't put too much strain on his knees, and using the pedigree will do that. I really think, as much as I want to see Seth Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania, at the same time, at this moment, I don't want to see it because I rather see Seth Rollins 100%, come uh, a few months from now than, have him come back from WrestleMania and risk hurting himself again or straining himself too early.
Mm. I mean, this would be Seth Rollins' third if he is to change it. That would be his third finishing move since 2013, 14, because he had the curb stomp, changed it to a pedigree, and then it would change back. So, do you do it? Now let's get into Monday Night Raw. We opened up Monday Night Raw with Samoa Joe signing his WWE Raw contract. Mick Foley, not too enthusiastic about it. Sorry for my tongue twister there. I honestly, I've been saying this, and Andrew's been here for a lot of it. I've been saying it for just about a year. I honestly and truthfully think that Samoa Joe is the best heel that WWE has. I've been saying it for a while. Andrew can back me up on that.
Yeah,
And
again, he's by far the best.
Tonight,
there's no question about it.
It was outstanding.
I
even thought when Roman Reigns came out, I thought it was good. Because Roman was doing nothing but defending his friend. I thought that was good. I thought the ending of Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe was good. As I was saying before the show, I'm okay with the way it ended. Now, if Braun Strowman just interferes and that's it, and there's no ending, there's no pin, it makes Samoa Joe look kind of weak. As in, he can't beat Roman Reigns. Yes, he beat Roman Reigns because of interference, but he still pinned him. What do you think?
I think Samoa Joe needed to win that match. I really do. I don't think Joe
you can't have him debut
at all.
wrestling-wise and lose. That's
no. I was nervous at first about them two going at it at the beginning of the show because I knew that they had plans for him and Strowman and him and Undertaker. So I was kind of like, all right, now are we throwing Joe into the mix here? Where does Joe fall in this? And I remember saying to you how I was like, okay, so are we just forgetting about Strowman now? And, they kind of saved themselves on that. They brought Strowman into the feud. They had him interrupt, and then they had him destroy Reigns, which it's nice to see him get destroyed.
No, Juan, you can't have Roman Reigns in that situation. I'm actually going to defend Roman in this. You can't have Roman lose clean like that when they're building up Braun Strowman to be the monster that he is, and they're trying to build up Roman to be able to beat Strowman, which obviously Strowman is going to lose to Roman Reigns at Fastlane.
Yeah.
But you can't have him lose clean like that. Roman's gotta be able to look at least half decent to even go up against Braun Strowman, because then it looks like, Spike Dudley versus Randy Orton or something like that, or Spike Dudley versus Batista. Like, we'd look at that and be like, oh my God, Batista's going to kill him. Obviously, I'm over-exaggerating there, but...
I don't know, man. Like, I saw the 4-on-1 handicap match.
That was dumb. That was just dumb.
I was just thinking, I was like, okay, so this is the WWE formula. So 4 of those guys equals 1 Sami Zayn.
Yeah. And then you have one dude just run away, and it was just like, okay.
Yeah, he just took off. He said, "Fuck this, I'm out."
So another question that so a lot of face superstars, are going to be in a match at Fastlane. Do you put Samoa Joe in a match at Fastlane, or do you protect him? Kind of like what they did with Strowman for a while. They really protected him. First couple pay-per-views, he didn't do anything. I wouldn't put him in squash jobber matches, but would you, kind of build him up, protect him at a pay-per-view, and then have his first pay-per-view be Mania, or do you get him into that pay-per-view formula and the flow? Because you can't forget, the dude has wrestled in takeovers, and he's wrestled all over the world in pay-per-views, but he's never wrestled in a WWE main roster pay-per-view. So do you protect him, or do you go off to Mania, or do you wait till Mania? Excuse me.
It's such a hard decision. I mean, it would honestly depend on who they pick for his opponent. At this point, who is there to go up against Samoa Joe?
Yeah.
out of all the feuds that have already been decided up until this point. So it's kind of like, Samoa Joe, I would save him. Save him for WrestleMania. Protect him. Um, if you want to have him do something to set up a feud, absolutely. But I mean, unless you have like a suitable person for him to go up against, I wouldn't risk it. You know, the only person I could think out of that main roster who could challenge Samoa Joe at this point in time would be Sami Zayn.
And
And it's like, do we really want to do that, especially when you were building Sammy up to be so good?
I think we'll get a rematch for the U.S. title, to be honest with you. And before we get into that, Juan, wanting to touch on this, how would you feel about this? How would you feel about Joe versus Balor? And then, have Balor come out, give a promo like, I'm back, blah, 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 and then just Joe blindside him and attack him, and then that starts their feud.
I'd go for it, but I mean, I didn't even think of Balor going into it because I'm not sure when he's coming back.
Well, his time, he can come back before Mania. He's at that point. Like, his goal is WrestleMania, and it's looking very good because he barely got uncleared for the Royal Rumble. So it's a good possibility, but for Samoa Joe, would you do that? Because I know, like, for Triple H's opponents, it's all up in the air if they're not going to go with Seth.
Right.
But, I mean, but here's the issue with this is if you're going to go for Seth and be like, okay, we're going to stick with our guns here, man, you'd be cutting it close. Let's say he does come to that 8th week. You'd have to change opponents the week before. If you're not.
Right.
So you're cutting it close.
Yeah, and like I said, you don't want to risk him getting hurt when you could just save him. I know they want to get WrestleMania. I know we want to see it. I know that it's the most anticipated thing that we've been seeing this year. But overall, you want to make sure that your guy's going to be good to go for the future.
There's part of me that would honestly be okay with waiting till SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, if his health is seriously in question, I wouldn't risk it. I'd give him the night off.
Yeah, but I think he's going to fight for it because he doesn't want to miss another one. But let's get into it. Juan brought up in the comments, oh yeah, Goldberg versus Kevin Owens, at Fastlane. Yeah, Goldberg and Kevin Owens is official. Question is how fast does Kevin Owens get beat by Goldberg? And before you go off, and before you go on, I'm going to put my 2 cents, and I'll let you put your 2 cents. I don't think that they're going to have Kevin Owens go more than what Lesnar did, because it would make Lesnar look very weak if Owens and Goldberg go 30 minutes. Go ahead.
I could see this match going one of 3 ways. The only way in which they would have a match that actually was like 10, 20 minutes would be if Jericho somehow got involved and jumped Goldberg as he was coming down to the ring, which I don't see happening because he's freaking Goldberg, right? The second possibility, which I think is more likely, is Brock Lesnar comes out and screws Goldberg before he wins the title. I think that's the most likely out of this scenario, but I've heard a lot of rumors, and I think that they're going to hand the title over to him. And if they're going to hand the title over, I'm sorry. As much as I like Goldberg, I would be so disappointed if Kevin Owens loses his championship in like 30 seconds.
You're going to be surprised.
After all he's done for the title.
So, Juan says KO will win. No, Kevin Owens will not touch Goldberg, because they're not going to build Goldberg up to have Kevin Owens have near falls and beat Goldberg, because that makes Kevin Owens the next monster. And there's no reason why he should be even having these issues with Roman Reigns if that's the case, because if that's the case, then Roman Reigns is stronger than Kevin Owens, Goldberg, and Brock Lesnar. But this is what's on my mind here. So I honestly think it's a good idea, and I've been thinking about it, and I listened to a podcast the other day, and this is what got me thinking about it. I honestly would not mind if Kevin Owens lost the title, because Kevin Owens has went downhill. The title really doesn't mean a lot, and I mean the only feuds he's had is Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, But remember when Brock Lesnar was the champion and how much that title meant? Like, yeah, he didn't wrestle every pay-per-view, and he didn't show up every week. But, man, when there was a title match, you thought big on it. The triple threat match at the Royal Rumble between John Cena, Seth Rollins, and Brock Lesnar. It was really good. So, I don't know. I think it'd be a good move to have Goldberg take the title, Lesnar win it back, and then Lesnar have a long run, because Goldberg and Lesnar are going to wrestle again for the rematch. Goldberg's not just going to, well, I'm done. I'm done for a little bit. But another thing is, that Roman Reigns is under this. He's under the table. At SummerSlam, it's going to be Lesnar versus Reigns. Mark my words, Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title, and Roman Reigns will win.
I don't know, man. It's just I'm okay with Goldberg getting the title. I just don't think it should end in 30 seconds. As much as it has to in order to kind of preserve what happened between him and Brock, I just for your big time championship to have that as a 30-second match. I don't know.
You can't build up a superstar like you're building him up to be to just turn around and say, well, we'll go 30 minutes.
No, you can't. No, you can't. But it puts it in a very difficult position, in my opinion.
Well,
because now, it depends on how they do it and how it's done. I feel terrible after all this that Kevin Owens will drop the title in record time.
Yeah.
I would have been more compelled if Finn Balor came back and challenged Owens for the title. I think it would have made more sense if Finn Balor came back and challenged Owens for the title.
I agree. I honestly think that when Finn Balor comes back, the only storyline he should have is for that title, because the guy did not lose it, and the guy deserves that spot. So I'm 100% behind you. I think that him and Kevin Owens should wrestle. And me personally, I would love to see Lesnar interfere, but you and I both know that that's not going to happen.
It's a possibility. I feel like it's more likely at a 30. Unfortunately, as much as I know that he's probably dropping the title.
The way I look at it, it's kind of like Kenny Omega, making his Royal Rumble debut. At this point, it's very slim to none. Because I know Vince is so behind Goldberg versus Lesnar that he wants to make this a big match. And what's the only way to do that right now? To put the title on the line. But
make it for the title. Yeah.
But so, let's move on. Another news. Bayley will be challenging Charlotte for the Raw Women's title next week on Monday Night Raw. Bayley's going to win the title next week, because they're not going to put Charlotte's pay-per-view in jeopardy. But this is exactly how it's going to happen. Bayley wins on Monday. Charlotte wins at Fastlane. Bayley wins at Mania. Bayley wins at the next pay-per-view to retain. This is the most logical thing if they're going to do it that way.
I hope that's not what they do. I really do. I hope that that they do something like a tag team match, honestly, for Fastlane, and then save the championship match for Mania. Because I don't want to see the musical chairs of the title again. And it sounds a lot like Sasha and Charlotte all over again.
Well, the rumor has it that it's going to be, the one card that I've seen, and, there's so many cards out for these titles, is the big one being Charlotte versus Bayley versus Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's title. And let's be honest, we don't want to see that at all. And, I don't know, man. I really want to see a Sasha Banks heel turn and have their storyline go. But at this point, it's kind of like you might want to save that for SummerSlam.
Yeah. It just depends on what they do with it. I just don't. I don't like what they're doing right now. I'm so I hate to say it because I love Bayley and I think she's a good performer, and she's very entertaining. I'm just not into it right now. I mean, what they're doing with her. Oh well, Nia Jax just beat Bailey.
For anyone that has
I mean,
watched this show long
this
enough,
number one contender, man.
here comes the so many SummerSlam references that are about to happen. Usually around this time, I'm always like, SummerSlam, SummerSlam, SummerSlam. I remember Kyle saying, like, man, is that all you're looking forward to, SummerSlam or something like that? I don't remember. But yeah, I
You
mean,
got Summer.
but yeah, I mean, you got to start looking at SummerSlam. I mean, it's basically number 2 to the WrestleMania. Tozawa made his debut against Drew Gallagher. It was okay. If we're being honest, it was okay.
Well, they didn't really do anything, and that's the thing that Monday Night Raw has really squandered when it comes to cruiserweights. There was a Raw emotion that the Cruiserweight Classic had, to where you actually saw these competitors go for like a good 15 minutes apiece, and it actually meant something. Now it's kind of like, all right, we got all these cruiserweights. It's cool. We're just gonna throw them in weird storylines and see where it goes. And you got one title, and not many people challenging for it. I mean, now they got all these people in a fatal 5-way to determine who's going to be Neville's new number one contender.
Yeah. I just don't think.
So I mean, like, it's no wonder that it's tanking.
I haven't thought of a lot of the cruiserweights at all. So
I don't know. I think you should put some of them in the tag team division. I'll be completely honest. Like Drew Gallagher and Tony Nese, they would make an excellent tag team. I would at least try to use them in another way like that, rather than putting them in the cruiserweight scene and kind of have them being those squash matches. Because really, you could be looking at a really good feud going on with some of the tag teams that you have on the main roster right now.
yeah. I'm reading something that apparently WWE News, Seth Rollins' injury kept hidden, WrestleMania match still on. What was hidden about it?
Yeah, I heard about that. Apparently, they're not trying to call off the match just yet. They want to wait until much later down the road to where they know whether or not he's going to be able to go or not.
I mean, because like I said before, I think this is the hottest thing they have on TV. There's no reason to just say, okay, we can't do it. But you need to have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G ready, just in case.
Right.
But, I mean, here's the problem. If you do that, you're going to have to get a part-timer to face Triple H. You can't, because let's say Triple H faces Sami Zayn, right? If Sami Zayn's in another storyline, why have him, just out of nowhere, stop it to face Triple H? So, back to Monday Night Raw. The Raw Tag Team Championship champion belts were on the line. Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson defeated Cesaro and Sheamus. Disqualification because of Enzo and Cass, which for some reason were sitting ringside. Don't ask me why they were sitting ringside. I still don't know.
Well, here we go again, because you just said it, right? Why would you take somebody out of a feud, right? Well, you had Enzo and Cass feuding with Rusev and
well, that ended last week.
The other guy.
That was the final match between those two. That was supposed to end it. That's 100% correct. That was the point of the match.
But I don't know. Now you have them in there with that. What are they going to do? A three-way tag team match?
You could. I mean, there's no telling. I think at Fastlane. I mean, at this point at Fastlane, because you can't really just say, well, we did beat you twice. It's not our fault that it got that the disqualification happened. So, at Fastlane, do you have a number one contenders match?
I guess you could. In all honesty.
Not even put the belt on the line.
Well, I mean, that's a typical Raw move, not to put the belts on the line. Or, hey, you know what? Better yet, you know what? I'm just gonna go for broke here. Why don't we just put it on the kickoff show? I mean, that's what they like to do, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, because WWE loves putting everyone in at the in WrestleMania. What do you think they're going to do for the kickoff? Because there's a lot of matches they have to fill, and a lot of people they also have to put in those positions. But WrestleMania Raw Tag Team Championship, who is it?
I'm gonna say Enzo and Cass versus the Club because it's something we haven't really seen before. So I think that will be good.
I 100% agree with you, and I think Enzo and Cass are going to get their big break and win the titles at WrestleMania.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
To see
it'll be
what we-
interesting, and it'll put them back on top for tag team, because they have, like I said, I'm getting to a point where I just don't like them anymore because of the way they're being booked right now. And, they still haven't won a title since becoming in WWE, and it's just about right for them,
Yeah,
1 year
they
later.
didn't do anything in NXT or anything like that.
Well,
So
they had their stuff with the Revival, which was outstanding. But, like I said, we'll see. How weak is Enzo Amore going to look in this? You never know, because the big man's not going to look bad.
no. The big man never looks bad, especially with Vince shining his rays down upon him.
Mm-hmm. All right. New Day defeats the Shining Stars. Who cares? U.S. Championship, Chris Jericho versus Sami Zayn. I'm going to try to do the Raw review differently. We usually just talk big points. Juan says, who do you think will win between Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman? Early prediction, Roman Reigns. 100% Roman Reigns, because you got to make Roman look big. After losing at the Royal Rumble and losing in the fashion that he did tonight, you have to have Roman win. Because if his rumored opponent is Undertaker, and if his opponent is the Undertaker, you have to have him look strong.
Right.
Going into it.
Right. Yeah. You don't want him looking weak going into a match with Undertaker, which I don't know, man. I feel like it's gonna hurt Braun Strowman down the road. I've said it plenty of times. I want to see how they book Braun Strowman after this because what historically has happened over the years is that big guys like that who are promoted the way Braun Strowman has been promoted, which is a typical big guy way, when they lose their first match, they sort of lose momentum in the WWE. They don't really seem as fearful as they usually are. Good example of that is the Great Khali. How he came in as a dominant force and he became the Punjabi playboy years later. I really don't want to see that fate befall Strowman, so they need to tread lightly on that.
There was something I'll never forget. There was one. It was right after John Cena faced Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. It was a couple weeks after. These two had one hell of a match at Monday Night Raw just to have it, and it was called Shawn Michaels John Cena Part 2. Well, Shawn Michaels ended up beating John Cena, and they were going to have a WWE Championship the next week. Well, that week, out of nowhere, everyone started getting just destroyed. Everyone, including Shawn Michaels. John Cena is looking for the person that is doing this. Great Khali comes out. The build is there. Great Khali is a monster. After that, never heard of him, never saw him again.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a perfect example of it, though. It's just you have those big guys, and, eventually they sort of just give up on them.
Absolutely. So Roman has to look strong. He'll beat Strowman, and then going into the Undertaker, this so-called passing of the torch, which there's nothing to pass, is there. Roman was better in the Shield than they fucked up Roman's career. We've said this before. Roman's career could easily be... there's rumors that are going around that Roman's going to turn heel to face Taker, which, they don't have a heel that has big heat. They don't. Other than Strowman, but they don't. So making Roman a heel would be good, and it's just the way that creative is pushing him. It's not organic.
Honestly, I feel like Reigns could have made it as a good babyface if they didn't push him as hard as they did. If they would have let it evolve naturally. The problem is that when they try to push Roman Reigns to be their top guy, at the time, you had somebody who the crowd desperately wanted to be that top face, and they didn't want that, and that was Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
And now that Daniel Bryan is out of the picture, if Roman Reigns wasn't pushed as hardcore as he was during that time with Daniel Bryan, I honestly think the crowd would have embraced him as the top babyface. But, people wanted to see Daniel Bryan be that top face, and Vince fought them on that and just to promote Reigns, and I feel like that's where they screwed Roman. I don't think that he can't make it as a face. I just think that they did it the wrong way, and it's like you said, they could fix all this by making him heel. Because if they make him heel for a good solid chunk of time, it would be so organic. People will finally get the reprieve that they want to, and years down the road when he goes back to being face, people will be more likely to embrace a face change from him and kind of give him that restart button that he's looking for.
Well, in other news, back to Raw, U.S. title, Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho retains the title with help of his best friend, Kevin Owens. Like I said, I could see this storyline continuing into Fastlane to have their match, Sami Zayn losing again, and, Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho are no longer best friends after Fastlane. There really isn't a lot to talk about there. I know. And then obviously to finish the night, Samoa Joe defeats Roman Reigns, as we already stated. Tomorrow being SmackDown Live's go-home show, what do you think? I honestly thought Raw wasn't bad tonight. I thought it went actually kind of smooth.
Honestly, out of all the Raws that we've seen up until this point, there's been better Raws, in my opinion.
There's
and
been
there's
better
been
Raws,
a
but I mean,
lot worse Raws. So, it was... If I had to give it a score, I'd give it a solid 5 or 6. It was somewhere in the middle for me.
I'm right there with you. It was a 6 or 7, or more of a 6. But I mean, I'm not gonna go off and say, man, this was a really, really good Raw. I mean, there's been better, but I thought it went smooth. The worst things that happened was seeing the Shining Star, both cruiserweight segments, and Nia Jax versus Bayley. Don't forget, your number one contender to the Raw Women's Championship got pinned clean today.
Yeah,
There was interference, but she got pinned.
Well, still, she got pinned, and I don't know, they're really... And that's what I said, I'm not really that interested in what's going on with Bayley right now, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm overlooking it or what. It's just not appealing because of the way they're doing this, and it looks like Nia Jax is somehow going to weave her way into Fastlane.
I don't think it could easily be another match between her and Sasha again, easily. But I mean, I think we've covered everything that there is to cover tonight.
No. We missed one very important thing.
What?
Finally, we have another date for Emelina and her new re-debut. So, yes, finally we know that Emelina is debuting next week on Raw.
Mae Young.
I'm almost willing. Yeah, Mae Young. I'm almost willing to bet that we're not going to see Emelina next week because they still don't have a clear storyline for her. They're probably like, yeah, she's coming out next week. It's like, just kidding. Just like last time.
No.
I mean, do we even care at this point?
They lost every single bit of interest I had for her when she didn't show up the first time.
Yeah, I mean that shame on creative for doing that. I mean, you go through the process of remaking her, and honestly, I really didn't think there was anything wrong with her character.
Neither did I. I mean, Dana Brooke made that character strong. Dana Brooke made that character stronger. But mean,
they could have put her back with her.
At this point, it's like, why am I just looking at a woman in a bikini 24/7? She's saying I'm being really patient. What am I being patient for? I don't know who this chick is. You gonna show up my door?
I don't know. It's just it's to the point where I'm kind of like, do I care? If I do care, it's like, what are they gonna do with her? Because after all this anticipation and build up, I really want to see something special with Emelina. I don't want to see her just come in and be like, "Oh, I'm here. Hi."
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely, 100%. But I think that is going to be doing it for us tonight. Tomorrow night, of course, we'll be live immediately following SmackDown. This Sunday, following Elimination Chamber, we'll be live. We'll be doing next big thing this week. I still haven't watched NXT. And we'll be doing Keeping It Real. Hopefully Kyle is available. I haven't talked to Kyle in a while, actually. But until next time, for Andrew, I'm Blake. Peace out.